last left off, I had some WD-40 on this and covered it all up. So I want to go through and clean out the bore, the journal, and then I want to lube the journal up here. Once again, I'm using 50 weight. I get it all the way around there. That's good. I have my rings lined up where they need to be. I want to get this lubed up. Okay, you're going to love this. Now you're seeing I'm putting these in from the bottom. Making sure the ring gaps are where they need to be. Double checking the clips. I'm going to squirt some stuff onto here just because. There is a chamfer on the in here. If you get these ring gaps lined up just right. Look at that. Look how easy that is. Voila. Now, I got my shims in this. This is where it gets a little tricky because everything has to go back together the exact way that I took it apart. So that's got to go on that way. Then these go on. Okay, so I'm getting a little problem with that wanting to stay there. So I need, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. If I had a small rubber band, I'd put it on there. But I don't have one. See if I can get my hand in here to where I can get at both of these. And I can. Come on. Get them in the right way. Okay. Make sure I put this on the right way. Yeah, you know what? You know where the nuts are? On the other side of the room. Hold on here. I got that one stud is not where it needs to be. I've got to rotate it around so that the flat part locks in. There we go. Okay, now, there we go. Now I can go get the nuts. And like I said, the crank's rotating this way. I need my scoop. Grab that oil. These torque to 45. And then as in the previous videos. You can see where I sized all these bearings, or Babbitt. Now, the key is here, once again, iron it in. And then we have a problem. Okay, I need to make sure that the holes line up for the cotter pins, and they do. That piston rod is in. Now don't be surprised, it's going to be a little hard to turn over at first. But once I get it moving, it'll move. And those are the high spots that need to wear in on the Babbitt. So there I am. 1 down, 5 to go. Yeah, this is what I'm running into here. It's not a big deal. I've got it torqued to spec, and I rotated the engine over to make sure it still rotates freely. So now what I got to do is I just have to bring these to where they need to be. You can't back them off, because if you back them off, that'd be no good. What I got going on here. Okay, I'm up to about 60 foot-pounds right there. There's nothing I can do about it because I have to have those cotter pins in there. Okay, so now that I got that torqued into where they need to be, let's see if I can still get it to crank over. Come on, baby. Yep. We'll be all good. Halfway there. Okay, for you who are still in disbelief that you saw the piston go in through the bottom, like I said, right in here is a small chamfer. It's pretty simple. They barely leave you enough room for the piston to get in with the throws on the crank, but it's fairly simple. You got to kind of wiggle it back and forth till the rings start to seat. You don't want to force it. You don't have to force it. Look at that. That easily. Get this last cap on here. Everything's going pretty good so far. And what I did to make sure everything goes together the way it was sized with the shims is, believe it or not, if you get the rod bolts switched, that'll throw it off. Don't ask me why, but it does. So I have numbers forward on the rod, numbers forward on the piston. The numbers, as I look at them this way, and I got a paint mark on one of the bolts so that I know what goes on this side. So far, this engine is turning over better than the one I hodgepodged together 5 years ago. That one was a mess, and I knew it wouldn't last long just because how old it was and how rusted it was. Keeping my fingers crossed. This will be another engine. If the world's still around in 100 years, we'll still be here. Or if they still make gas, might have to grow corn in the yard, huh? Make our own. Okay, do I line up? No, maybe. That lines up now. That lines up now. Okay, it's been turning over. Yeah, baby. Hard part is done. Okay, on to finishing up this lower end. I got to put the safety wire in for the mains, and I got to put the cotter pins in for the rods. I'm going to wait to safety wire these two until I get my oil lines in. My oil lines are on the other engine that's in the car right now. I want to get this block flipped up and painted, so let me get what I'm going to do now done. Get it flipped up and get it painted, and while it's drying, I will pull the engine out of the car. Okay, now I'm into these cotter pins. And if you look at the hole, it's above the groove. I don't like putting washers on these, just for balance purposes. I know I'm probably overthinking it or not, well, probably. But the reason this is down lower is because the shim pack and the tolerances when the Babbitt was poured, that will fluctuate the cap up and down. Long story short, this is how I do these pins. Get it in the hole, flip it up and around. I like to trim this one. Don't let that go flying in the engine. And I like to trim this one. I hold it with a pair of pliers so it doesn't go flying across the shop or down into the engine. I know it doesn't have to be this pretty, but I'm OCD. Now, with that done, the cotter pin's still not in the castle nut. So what I'm going to do is tap that down. Now that side's locked in, and I'm going to do the same to the other side. I get to do that 12 more times. I'm going to admit, I ain't the best at this. Really, the hardest part is trying to figure out how much wire to use without wasting it. This safety wire's not cheap. But then again, if there's leftover, I'm just going to use about the length of the handle or the pliers themselves. If you can find this brand, use it. Now the whole goal of this is to stop these from backing out. So what you want to do is when you run the wire through, you want to have it to where the wire is pulling the bolt in the torque connection. So I'm going to have this wire pulling the bolt clockwise, coming over to this bolt, pulling it clockwise. Like I said, I'm not the best at this. And guys working on airplanes are laughing their ass off right now, I'm pretty sure about it. Now, I like to get it started up close so that it'll tighten it up against the bolt. And then I'll move the pliers back and try it again. That moved in, not too bad. If you tighten it up too tight, this wire will break. Now take it roughly to where the other hole is, where you want to come in at the other hole. Yeah. The hole's on this side. Yeah. Come on. Kind of a pain in the ass to get both wires. See, now when I did this one, it did it really well. This one's just making it look like I really don't know what I'm doing. Come on. You gotta get it tight enough to lock these pliers in. If you have too much of this wire in there, it won't lock in. See, come on. There we go. You don't need one of these wires, these fancy twisty plier things, but it does make it nice. I need to bring it down a little more. It doesn't hurt to do it in multiples. God, I hate these. This is my least favorite part of this job right here. Come on. I might have to do some editing. Make it look like I didn't take so long to do it. You know what? I'm just going to do it by hand. How about that? So I bring it around to where the hole is. Figure out which wire looks best going in, which lead. I'm going to say it's this lead right here. There we go. I got it pretty tight here. Got it tight there. Oh, I didn't leave myself enough wire. Oh, maybe. It is going to be close. This is where I'm going to use regular pliers. Ow. I'm going to say trim the long end so it doesn't stick into the palm of your hand. How about that? I had enough. Believe it or not, I had enough. All right. That's how you do that. Well, I didn't like the way that tail was, so I redid that one. So, got the ones done I can do for now. I'm going to lift that engine up now. I can't lift it up with the crank in it. This thing's getting heavier by the minute. So, let me figure out how to get this thing flipped up and around by myself. I'm on to another video now, so I got to finish up the torquing the mains and all that. What do I got here? An A beer, because I got to be under that. And it's still early. Okay. You can't tell it in my voice, but I'm pretty irate right now. I'm going to explain something called stack up. Stack up is a machining tolerance. There were parts that interact with each other can only be out of spec one way or another, a certain amount. Can you see it? It's not supposed to look like that. That one's not as bad, but that's the way it's supposed to look right there. What that wonderful machine shop did. That one in Ohio. They bored the bores off center this way. And look when they did the Babbitt. I've got thicker Babbitt here than here. And it's forced that pin to where it's almost touching the piston. If this would be a race engine or a modern day engine, I would not let that fly, but this thing's not going to see any real hard use. Mind-boggling. And this shop was supposed to be the cat's ass in Babbitt and pre-war engine machining. Nice. Now there goes 10 grand out the freaking window. They wanted to rule out a bent rod for that. Being biased to that piston. So I'm measuring the pin. I don't know whether you'd call it offset. Normally, if everything was machined exactly the way it needed to be, you'd be measuring for bent rods. So I'm taking a depth measurement here and here on each piston. And this is what I've got. 2000 soft, 1, 11, 10, 11, and 2000s. This could be contributed to the way the Babbitt was poured in the rods. Not happy with it, but I just keep on telling myself this engine's got like 40 horsepower, so it's not going to shake itself to death. It'll be interesting. All I need is a line bore, and I'll be able to do all this myself. That's the plan for the next engine, is that I do all the machining here in-house. For the price I paid to have this done, I could have bought all the machinery myself. Lessons learned.